Um, hey Stuart, Peter, might as well jump straight into this. Bill, good day. Mark, hello. Thanks for the pictures. Fridge, good day. No ads because screwed up the monetization. I don't know. I guess one day it'll be fixed, but we just got to wait. Can't contact or talk to or actually correspond with anyone who might have some idea about how to fix it. But at this point, Mark Osborne, good day. You can't just fix it. You got to wait 30 days to change it. And I think we're about 7 or 8 days into it. I had to delete the old one because it hasn't been monetized for about a month, 2 months maybe, the end of February. And they're going to pay out sometime before beginning of June or something, I don't know. Not that there's very much on it because at the point it got demonetized, we're only up to about $57 or something. So anyway, one day there's a $57 coming. And at about that point, I can remonetize it with my new AdSense email, which corresponds with my YouTube email, which will make things a whole lot simpler because the reason it was demonetized or stopped being monetized in the first place was because I hadn't filled out my US tax form, which may or may not still be applicable or reliable or useful by the time I get to the point of filling it out again. Because, there's a tax waiver to Australia, but no one's thought to change that, I don't think. And when they do think about it, they'll just delete it because that's how they work. Anyway, Team Biscuits, good day. So that's where I'm at. Other thing is arthritis in one foot because many years ago I put a little key steel race axe in and chipped the bone, and it's kind of hurt. Kevin, g'day. And now when the weather changes or the seasons change, it hurts a bit too because I'm in arthritis, so I'm a bit annoyed about that. So I've had a week sitting around home with no real cash to spend, so I haven't really spent it. I've just sat around and I got sort of caught up on some sleep and stuff because there's stuff I need to spend money on, and sometimes it's easy to stay in bed, and no one at this point shot Donald Trump or Elon Musk, so when that happens, I guess we'll have some good news. But until then, it hasn't happened. Someone's sneaking around with a thin little stiletto blade that they want to slide in under someone's ribcage and wriggle around. Probably Joanne Rawlings would be another good one to give a hiding to, but that's probably enough politics. If you get rich enough, you can be above the law or beyond the law, or you can change the law to what your own pet little little bee that you've got in your bonnet, and no one really cares apparently. But there you go. I don't know if that'll happen, Peter, to be honest. I really don't. Officially, he's got to. Officially, by law, he's not supposed to be in his position for more than 130 days or something. And if they don't want a full-scale insurrection, he's got to take a step back. But he's paid too much money in bribes and party line fees to actually take a step back, I think. And you'll find that no one's going to take a step back. It's you don't have to look very far back in history to see that Putin did the same thing 13 years ago. And it is 13 years nearly to the day. I think it's like 13 years next Thursday or Friday, something like that. And yeah, if you're average hungry and very I guess self-motivated Russian can't find a clear path for a bullet across Moscow, then it's very unlikely that the average less motivated at this point American can do the same. So we're stuck with them. Anyway, that's a bit harsh maybe, but that's how we are. Journeyman Randy, g'day. But I feel like even in Australia, no one's really even. I see little things, but and maybe I notice them more than most people, but I do see things, and I think we are stepping back a bit. We've made so much progress, and in the UK made so much progress in so many things, and yeah, it still seems like it's a fair thing to want to pander to Donald Trump. In Australia, we're kind of lucky that we don't have to. Our products we can sell anywhere because they're international standard. So we don't really have to sell stuff to America. And there are other markets, and we certainly can find other markets, and we've certainly found some already. So we probably don't really have to buy anything out of the States either. I can't really think of very many products that we actually buy out of America. So probably live without them. It's more concerning is we've got a military base in the Northern Territory that belongs to it's an American base, and that probably wants to be, someone needs to do something about that. And I don't know what, but I'm guessing there's a lot of lily-levered Australian politicians who are having meetings about what they can do about it and what they can't do about it. But I don't feel like an American military base in Northern Australia is a very good idea at this point. And I think most Australians are exactly the same. So, need to fix that. As far as ASIO, listening to this and getting me demonetised, I don't think that's a very high sort of a thing. So anyway, I've had a rant. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. And I'm kind of sick of the whole struggle thing. Just sort of thinking about nice things that I've had to give up because things change or that. Anyway, it's enough of me being enough of the big self-pity kick. But I'm sort of tired. I paid for new shoes this week, which are imported from Denmark, which is not actually an American colony as yet. Very nice shoes. Duck feet. If you have a look at duckfeet.com, very nice pair of shoes that I know were going to last, because I rang them and said, or messaged them and said, when was the last time I bought a pair of shoes and what size were they? Or what size were the last pair of shoes I bought, because I need to buy another pair. I couldn't remember, and there's nothing left on the remains of the shoes, because they've been resold that many times. And the girl says, would that be the pair you bought in 2018? And it probably was. So that's, well, 7 years. It's not a bad effort out of a pair of shoes. So I buy another pair. So I did do that. Anyway, so what else did I get done? Not very much. Not much happening with this stinking great gear wheel. They're not that dainty, actually. We'll do this. We've got a mess. They're actually still a fraction tight around the toes because they haven't been broken in, but there we go. We have shoes. Just for Peter. What else did I do? It's a bush. Don't know if I'm going to leave it that long or not. I think I will. Machine down to 38mm. I've got a cutter for the drill. This is going in the bottom of the smoke box on the roller. Drill a hole with an annular cutter in a magnetic drill underneath. Stick that up inside it, weld around it. Job's done. Put a plug in it. It's got to be airtight, but there's got to be somewhere for the dirt to run out. So with this, pretty awesome little improvement actually in the bottom of the smoke box, because it means you can hose the thing out and it doesn't fill up with water in the smoke box, which is an absolute benefit, like kind of a fan. So that's a huge step in the right direction. So got that sorted. That was about a 10-minute job, by the way, for my 5 days off. This was a bit more of a job. We're getting there. I've got 2 of them done out of the 3. These look pretty good, I think. This is about what we need. Had these castings here on the bench for ages, and this one's sort of been roughed out. Pity, really, because I'm not sure I'll do it the same the second time around. These are pretty well finished. There's one existing one. This is for Dan's Roby engine. There's one existing and 4 holes. So these 2 go on the mains, I think. Basically, they're just a round hole in the casting for a oil pot, and these sit in as lids. So there's 2 of them. This one goes on the cross slide, I think. So I'll get this finished too. I've got basically the profile set up, ready to go. Just a matter, probably Friday, which is a public holiday here again, which means another short week, which means another day that I'm not going to get paid. Didn't get paid a whole lot this last week because of public holidays and stuff. And on account of me putting my foot down and saying I wanted my annual day off on the day that I said I was going to have it off on, not on the day that is more convenient to the company. So a bit sick of that. But yeah, work for someone who's basically a sociopath and a narcissist. That's what you get, and I'm getting a bit sick of that too. But anyway, we're having a rant sort of a night. Anyway, this one's still got to be done. Basically, a matter of gripping this and finishing the bottom, tidying it all up. Dan, if I never had so many things that needed attention and dollars, I certainly would. But you've got to find something else first, and it's not as easy as it could be either because of reasons. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we'll clean this up and finish it, because it's a bit rough. And then grip him this way around and cut the profile to match these. And we'll have 3 of these ready to come down. These are nice. I'm pretty happy with them. So that's another job I did. That took a day and a bit so far with the CAD work and stuff. So all good. Yeah. Look. TNB, that if that was an option, I'd jump at it. Did a little bit on this. I haven't done much on this really. Sort of done some things. I painted the turntable. I'm not convinced that turntable's the way forward. This is a modern quick release turntable. I don't reckon when this truck was in service that it ever had a fancy quick release turntable like this, because my experience or memories of trucks with semi-trailers on them back in the day, maybe in the UK was different, but in Australia everything had greasy plates and a bolt and a nut underneath, and you had to jack them off the bed. So basically what happened was that you got under it and undid the nut, which wasn't a fun job. It took the split pin out and undid the big castellated nut in the bottom and took the washer off. Then jacked the bed up through the turntable and drove out if you needed to get it off to do the springs or go into town or whatever else you needed doing. And most things were done on the truck with all the bits in place. But there were some jobs, I guess, you needed the trailer off, so that's what you did. I can't find any information on that sort of a system. I can't find any information at all on that sort of a system, so let alone pictures of what a round turntable should look like with the greasy plate. No old pictures, no nothing. If anyone else has got any, that'd be fantastic, but I haven't. I feel like the generations of gentlemen that drove trucks like this in Australia, probably if someone come to take a picture, had to crawl out and go and wash up and put your suit coat on and your shirt top and your hat and then come and stand by the truck for a picture. You didn't actually get a picture of anyone working. So that's how that is. So the other thing is that I've sketched out a trailer for this, which is a Tasker float. I don't know if it's the answer. This might be nicer with just a little freighter 20-foot semi with a single axle, which puts a set of wheels back about here and is a nice little truck, and probably plenty good enough for anything you want to move about, except probably something that's extra height like a steamroller or a crane or something. But I've sketched out a float for it, sort of. Like, it's very half-assed. It's just sort of an outline. If you have a look, it's not particularly well put together as far as the drawing. And it looks a bit light in this front end. And this is a big 15-tonne front end, but put a 30-tonne float on it, looks a bit sort of ordinary. So the other option, right, I don't know, take that off, put a ballast box on the back. With a tarp over it, big concrete weight in it, whatever, and a drawbar, and put a dolly under the front of the float and drag it around and then make a drag, which is probably more likely what this thing would have done, or how it would have moved a load like that. And that way you could put another truck on the back if you really wanted to get all enthusiastic about this plastic truck thing. So, I don't know about that, but hey, John. So what else did I do? Right, we've got a tail shaft in, right, which is about the last of those things on the chassis. If you have a close look, we've got gear shift linkages also in. Have a look under here. We've got a handbrake cable, a handbrake lever in. It's all sorted. We've got most of the cab. We've got light box on the dashboard. We've got the rev counter. We've got a speedo on the steering wheel. Gear shift lever. We've got the accelerator pedal and the clutch and a brake. So that's the cab all sorted. Controls all sorted anyway. So got that done, which is pretty awesome. Also got I think we can turn this over. Yeah. Master cylinder under the side here. Brake master cylinder. And steering gear, I think you saw that already. So that's the chassis pretty much finished, right? Next thing, see, steering still works. Look at this, how cool is that? Don't know if you can see that, probably. Remove the light, we can. There you go, steering arms all work, everything works. Bit impressed, very happy with that. So, that was that. Got this huge pile of rubble here, speaking of, right? Printing these is almost impossible, right? We're at a bit of a crossroads. I've got one printed, but there's a problem with it, right? In that it breaks, because this little layer of print here, when you print this upright, when you print it upright, you can get a nice finish front and back, which is great. But you've only got a print layer that's that long, like 2mm by 2mm at any given point, and it's not a very big cross section. So when you go to finish this up and paint it and get it nice, it just cracks. And I've super glued this about 5 times here and then I gave up on it. So that's not the answer, right? I thought I had the answer here. There's another one that we tried that didn't work. We've got this one that sort of works if you print it like this, and we could print the 3 sides all together and fit it over the front, which would be very nice and it'd probably work. But same deal, see, just breaks there. Even with the support on the front, it's still freeing this up just breaks it. So that's not the answer. Here's another one. This is a half reasonable one I printed. Oh, Dan's back. But underneath, it's not worth even looking at. So we're at the crossroads with this. One is we could save up and buy a resin printer. Two, I could get a friend who resin printed some other parts for me recently. And get him to resin print them for me, which may or may not work. It's all good. And I'm not sure what sort of resin he's got because it didn't seem to glue or do anything. Got a friend, Marcus Wilson, in Western Australia, who's crazy flat out busy, but he's got a nice 3D printer, farm, and he'd probably print me one. And that might be a really good option. Or, because I've got nothing else to do, we could break this down into sections. Right? It's a bit thicker on the edge there. Where's one that actually works? We tried this one, even though it's broken. Right? It's a bit thicker through the edge there, and that edge, and then it's thicker through this section here in the centre, which is the steering, the centre window. John, that's exactly right. Resin printers are pretty noxious. I've sort of put off buying one. They're getting cheap, but I put off getting one because, for one, I've got other commitments, and two, they're pretty noxious. That's exactly right, and I really don't want a mess. This is bad enough. So, do we print these pieces separately, laying down on the bed like this? This piece and this piece on the end, right? And this bit separately, and this bit separately, and fit it all together so that the lines all match, all run long ways. Because if this runs long ways, see, when this is printed down like this, the 3D print layers are quite long, right? And to the point that you can't really snap that. You've got to put a fair bit of pressure on that. See, we can nearly straighten that out without it snapping. And it's got quite a curve in it. So, do we divide this up into sections and print this section, this section, this section, and this section, and this section separate, and glue them up afterwards? If you made them overlap, right, and then cleaned them up on the back, probably with a cutout. Now, there's a bit of CAD work involved in that, and I'm not sure how it's going to work because you've got this hole in the centre too, which is a radiator filler, which we don't have to have because it doesn't really do anything. It's just a locating spigot, and it'd be quite smaller than that, quite a bit smaller than that. But that's got to finish just there because it sits on the dashboard there. And these two pieces here sit around the floor. It's cutouts for possible LED headlights. And this here goes in behind the cab, which is the start of the heater filament, or the heater element. If we have a look. This goes here, and the heater element fits in there, and then there's another piece on the back of it. That column sits right on the dashboard there. So that's probably the best way to do it, is to divide this up into sections and have a go at it that way. The other thing we could do is make this out of brass. The problem is that you've got this nasty curve in it, right? And I don't like very much replicating that evenly all the way across and on both sides. Could solder it all up and make it out of brass, make the sides out of brass. A lot of work. Don't like it much. So anyway, I hope to get a resolution on this at some point because I'm sick of printing all these bits printed lots of them. I can't just print this all in one piece because this doesn't really fit on there in one piece. You've got to put the front on and then the sides on. So anyway, so that's something else that we're working on. Great cup. Thanks, Mark and Mrs. Mark Lee. Thanks for that. Anyone that's got any sign painting work, I'm definitely down. I do have a lead from Mark at the moment. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, so that's that. Apart from that, if we add up all the outgoings and all the incomings, there's more outgoings than incomings in my life at the moment financially. So we're sort of trying to keep people back a bit. Trying not to. Yeah, anyway, not a big deal. We'll get over it. Been through it before. It's just very hard to keep on top of things when the whole world goes upside down. Anyway, road run coming up. That's the next thing, I guess. First weekend in June. Well, it's the weekend at the start of June, which is the 31st and the 1st, something like that. Big road run. At this point, the list of things that I've got to do to get that operational is crazy, but we'll get there. I'm pretty well on target for that. Got to register the road roller, and that's not as easy as you might think. Because the road roller at the moment is in New South Wales. There's a historic vehicle registration scheme in New South Wales, which is very good actually. I've got to say this about them, and they got that sorted. It's really excellent. Dan, you're talking about the registration. I think the registration on the roller is a good historic vehicles system. It's much better than Queensland's by far, actually. In that you're allowed 60 days casual use. Didn't get it done. I went to work instead between the hours of 7 and 7:30 or whatever it was that I left here. I made some phone calls and I discovered some more stuff as well. So that's very good. We'll get to that in a minute. But the problem with it is that to register a vehicle in New South Wales, you've got to have a New South Wales driver's licence. Don't know why that should be so. But on further looking through their website, which is New South Wales Transport or whatever it is, New South Wales Motor Registry or whatever it is, it says that you don't have to be licensed New South Wales driver to register a New South Wales vehicle. You do, however, have to have a New South Wales address, which I do, I guess, if we're going to go there. And what you need is a customer number, which is all very well. So how do I get a customer number? My information my information was that I had to rock up to a New South Wales transport office and get my with my photo ID and register for a number, fill out the form and get a number. However, I made several phone calls about that today because I had an interesting feeling about this. If you have obtained a speeding fine or a parking infringement in New South Wales, you already have a customer number. So it seems. So that's a very interesting thing because I did get busted in a 50k zone at Almara earlier in the year. It wasn't a crazy fine. I paid it. It wasn't really a big fine at all. It was $130 or something at one point. Disappointing, but I was further along than I thought when I realised I might be getting close to Almara. So, I already have a New South Wales transport customer number. That's that. Easy as that. I said, so you sure that'll work? If I put that on my registration form and get it sorted, will that work? So anyway, that's one step further in the next direction. So we'll get that all sorted tomorrow and ready to lodge. So that's all good. Job's done. Most strange. Anyway, so that's registration. That pin is still there, and I can't run the roller anywhere without that pin. It's sort of an important pin, that one. Involuntary customer number, yes. Bizarre but true, to be honest. It's just one of those weird things. I didn't think of that until last night, and I googled it, and someone on Reddit said that was the case. So I made a phone call today. But that pin stops the front falling off. Yeah, it's kind of important. It's not the original pin, and the original pin won't fit in its current form because someone's modified it because it's been broken for quite some time. And I would say back in the 90s, someone made a modification so that the front wouldn't fall off. But I'm going to put all that back together at this point. When we're at the new place, or if we're at the new place, or when we've got a concrete slab with space to... that's something else, Dan, is... I wonder if the shed at Glenray has a... wonder how thick the slab is. That's something I'd be very keen to find out. Yeah, anyway. We're putting this back together, but I want to put a straight one back in, right? Because this one's kind of bent. And all it is a bit of bar with a split pin in each end. So make that up pretty quick. That's one job we've got to do. Dan may or may not have got the Landy back together, so we probably shouldn't touch on the Land Rover. Probably shouldn't touch on the Land Rover project at the moment. I think it's probably the best thing if we just don't talk about that, because it is a complicated situation that we find ourselves in with that, and it'd probably be better not. I think probably a cooling off period might be called for with the Land Rover. Anyway. Other thing we've got to do, right, is this. All right. This is off the roller. And while it's on the roller, it's really not particularly good because it means you can't steer the roller. It's not helpful. At this point, I don't know how much more rain Dan's had down there, but here in Queensland, we've had a lot of rain in the last 24 hours. I don't know why, but it's been bucketing down for a bit. It was a nice day today, but it rained yesterday. Rained the day before, I think, too. Hey, Nigel. So rain is a bit of an issue with this road run thing. So the other job we've really got to do is this. All right. This key, this wheel. This is going back on and it'll do for a bit. It's not ideal. It's nowhere near ideal, but it'll do for a bit. It's less than ideal, to be honest. But we have a way forward and quite a lot of progress on working out how to produce these parts. So that's good. I think we've made some progress on that. That's how that is. What else? What got to do with the roller? Oh yeah, front canopy irons both cracked because they've been welded up, and it's not a particularly good job. I think there wasn't much weld on them, to be honest. Someone's made them up because they're obviously missing. So, our mate Phil, who's a very useful man and a blacksmith, who's a handy guy to have about, is fixing those. So they're sort of nearly done. I think they're well on the way. I've talked to Phil about them in the last 48 hours or so. So there's actually work happening there. Pretty happy with that, to be honest. So all in all, got stuff happening. The foundry situation is still average. Anyone who's got any scrap brass kicking around in Queensland that they want to get rid of, very, very much appreciate it, and probably I'll give you a cash price for it because I could do with some brass. Because there's some bronze work that really needs to be done. Anyway, that's a besides. So they're the main jobs that need to be done on the roller before it's back on the road. This bush here would be very useful to have that sorted. Front pin really needs to be fixed. Gear needs to all go back on and pin back in, and it'll be right for a bit. Won't get any worse in a hurry. We know exactly what we need to do when it comes off, and if we've got all the bits ready to go, when we take them off next time, we can just swap them over, hopefully. That's the theory. It's a good theory. We're sticking to it. We like that theory. So that kind of covers what's happening. That's where we're at. Got this token pocket. It's all sorted. It needs a coat of paint on it, and it needs a hole in it hanging up. It's not a big job. Dan, you're asking about that. It's a very good thing. I'd very much like to have a toolbox on the back of the canopy before the road run too, but that hasn't happened as yet. Anyway, on other news, we've got a water gap that we've got to do something about pretty much post haste. So that's becoming more pressing. Whether I just say, yeah, that's not going to happen, sell it to someone else, get it sorted, which would be a bit of a relief from my end. But it seems a pity to miss out on something that there's only one of, and it would be a very nice thing behind the roller. So I don't know what to do about that, except probably just say sell it to someone else. Don't know, really don't know. I'd like to get it. It's a long way from home. the freight bill to get it home, or getting it even to Grafton is going to hurt. And while I could organise that, or while I could probably even go down and tow it, at some point I need to put some cash into my vehicle as well before I do too many long trips. So I really got to work out what I'm doing there. Don't know, but need to work out in the next few days. That's how we're going with that. Is Phil coming for the road one? I believe so. I don't think he wants to miss out. I think he'd be absolutely down for it. And we did talk about it. We have to touch base with him again before then. But I think Phil's down. Anyone else who wants to come for a trip around Grafton road run, which is the in-town road run with it. And it's we'll probably over the weekend do about 100 kilometres. It's this pretty serious road run on a roller. Anyone who's keen, which is why we need to get all this stuff sorted, hit us up. It's the first weekend or the weekend before June. If you're driving through, if you know anyone who's driving through, or anyone who might be interested, any content creators you're talking to who might be going through Grafton on that weekend, anyone who might want a weekend away to come and mess with the steamroller for the weekend, hit us up, because we'd be absolutely down for someone to drive a van or something. I'll be in touch with him, Dan. I'll have to talk to him again in the next few days, I think. So anyway, anyone who's down, hit us up. But honestly, anyone who wants to join a road steam club in Northern Rivers, New South Wales, as a hands-on member, if you're out there, you're doing steam stuff, you want to network with people, you're watching this, you may not be watching it, but if you are watching this, whoever you are, reach out, because that might be something that we'll have going before very long. So that's how we're at. Anyway, I hope Phil turns up too. Anyway, that's sort of what's happening, pretty much. This weekend I've got a bit of stock there. I'd like to get that pin made. There's a pin that goes across the front of this that needs replacing too. I'll get that made. I've got a piece of stock for that. It's only the same thing. It's basically a pin with 2 pins in it. Get these finished this weekend. I need a foundry visit. There's things that we need to do. I've got a pair of those bearing blocks. There's only one of them seems to have a brass for some reason. So I've got a pattern there to make a new brass for it, for the other one. At some point I'd like to get that done. My mate William's got a little stationary engine that needs a set of mains. This is the pattern for the mains for them. Should be very good. It's half the pattern. Don't know where the other half is. It was here somewhere. I'm not sure I even printed the other half. But that's another job that needs doing. Printing. Needs making. I'd very much like to make something up to put this guard on this banjo, but I really don't know I haven't got any closer to the actual fulcrum of knowledge with that, to be honest. Don't know. So it's not a priority. The same as the whistle's not a priority. I haven't forgotten all about it at all, and I have slowly been doing a little bit of work on the pattern. The pattern needs quite a bit of work. It's just here, by the way. There you go. Whistle pattern. Some of these edges need draft. Some of them need fillets. A lot of this we can get a bit of draft on, and a lot of it, yeah. Anyway, it's sort of it's a work in progress too. There's quite a bit of CAD work going into that. I'm getting that ready to go. But you will see some updates at some point. Don't know when, but there's things we could do here too, but it's not a priority like this month because I've got other stuff to do the next couple of months before the end of August. Not least as probably is, yeah. In the perfect world, I'd like to quit my job at the end of August or middle of August and go to the national rally, come back to a new one, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Still looking for a new job. Won't have any problems with walking out on them if it comes to that. So if we find somewhere, we'll just move across. But I'd like a job that is translatable because there may be a move on my cards at some point, whether it's probably going to be to somewhere in the Northern Rivers, New South Wales. More about that at a later date, but there you go. So it'd be nice to have a job that's a bit transferable, something I could go and work at Coffs or Grafton or somewhere. Anyway, don't know where that's happening. I've been trying. Apart from that, I feel pretty run down and pretty sort of like I haven't actually got much crap together at the moment. But we're slowly making progress on things. I don't feel like I've done a lot. I've watched a few movies and I've probably done a bit of CAD work and I've done some sketching and probably read some books and things. In the last week while I've been at home, but that's about it. Bit slack. Anyway, that's how it is. That's all the things that are happening. The pump is at least back on the roller, which is very good. And it seems to be working. There are other jobs on the roller that need to be done too post haste, and it's just not going to happen because I don't have enough hours in my day, to be honest. Tea and Biscuits got another kit car video out, which is very interesting. I read that. I watched that. It's something I did watch. There was a live stream on Monday or Tuesday, Monday I think, from Mark Shed Talk, which took us all by surprise. No one knew anything about. The pump is not, however, back on the land. That is a very true sort of it's a state, but it sort of speaks to the state of man, really, that you'd even buy a Land Rover. Anyway, it's a state. While we don't talk about it, we definitely have opinions. Like there's opinions. It's not something without opinions. Anyway, where were we? Who else had a video out? I did a live stream last night. It was a total waste of time because I was pretty sore and I was not feeling it, and I had a mental blank, and I attempted to do something that in completely the wrong way, and then after the live stream I spent 10 minutes and did it the right way. So there is, if you have a look at my live stream, I always put the my CAD live stream, if you're following that along, and it is a bit of a thing, and don't bother with last night's because it was all over the place. I don't think there was anything useful come out of it, and we lost sound for a bit too. I don't know why, but we're getting there, and I would like to get it a little bit more professional, but I'm not feeling hopeful. But I always put the link to the CAD sheet that I was working on, so people can go in and have a look around. Now there's another, on the end of that, there's also a part studio in the same link, like down the end, which is how I actually did it. So you can look down the feature script on the side and you can actually see the steps that I took to get where I was, which is completely different to the first one and a much better result, I think. Anyway, that's where we're at. Hopefully next Tuesday is much more salubrious and a little bit more organised, and I think we might have a project. Mark offered to provide a project for next week, so we might actually get in and do a fairly simple CAD project that's going to be fairly straightforward and nice. Did we have any luck with the POMs? No, we printed the papers. There we go. We printed the papers, which is why I was late home tonight. We have pieces of paper. I need to sign them and fill them out and scan them in again and email them off to them, and then they send us an invoice back, and then you pay the invoice, and then they go and spend their half hour searching for the information, which you've paid for the half hour. They haven't told you how many hours they need to find the information, but you paid for half hour, which is not refundable if they don't find anything. And then this is the Liverpool, where is it? It's the Aveling Archives anyway, in England. It's sort of a bit of a system. Anyway, they have a bad website which is innavigable really and very slow. Like, it's terrible. It must come straight out of a spreadsheet or something. I don't know how it works, but it's dismally slow. You've got to wait 10 minutes for some pages to load. And then if you can't find the information you want, and there's only in a directory, there's not any actual scanned and uploaded information, there's a directory, what you need to do is pay half hour or half hour blocks for someone to go and actually have a look from the actual archives, which is all very well, but they don't tell you how many hours it's going to take, and it's like 23 quid or something for a half hour. It's kind of $50 an hour, $100 an hour Australian. It's kind of crazy. So what you do is you email them and say you'd like to do that, and then they send you a form. Then you print the form out and sign it and fill it in. Then you scan it back in and you send it back to them, and they send you an invoice, and you pay the invoice, and then they go and have a look, and then they send you the results if they find any. And when you've got the results, you haven't actually got the results, because if you want copies of the results, that costs you extra. They'll summarise it, but they won't actually give you the copies of the results as part of that research. You've got to actually pay £4 or something a sheet to get the actual results. So it seems like a bit of a rort. It's fair enough, but this is for the Aveling in Grafton City Park, or in the park in Grafton, which may become a club machine at some point on a 100-year lease that we may not have to do anything about in the next 20 years, hopefully. Anyway, it's basically that's a matter of getting the thing out of the hair or out of the way of the council so they don't have to deal with it. And it gives us a bit of a bargaining power when we're calling for grants and actually trying to defraud money from the general public or whatever it is that clubs do. I don't think that's what they actually do. I don't think that, I didn't describe that particularly well, but whatever it is that they do, it's a useful thing to have a council roller that's part of the local history there. Hey, James. Anyway, let's explain the Lincolnshire Archives. That's what it is, the Lincolnshire Archives. If anyone's in Lincolnshire and got nothing better to do but go along to the archives, you could have a look for the roller number 9007 and where it ended up and who they sold it to and that sort of stuff. If there's anyone in Lincolnshire who wants to run along to the archives for an afternoon, I will throw you the cost of a case of beer. I mean, that's not even a problem. And it'd be certainly a much better deal than actually getting them to do it. Anyway, history's full of rorts. That's exactly right. So that's where we're at with that. I've printed the forms out. I've got to sign them, fill them out, scan them in, email them back to them. And this might be tomorrow night or Friday probably. If I get time on Friday, I might do that. It's Anzac Day Friday. Not going to the dawn service. Anyone who's going to the dawn service, good luck to you. That's excellent, and I applaud you wholeheartedly. It's a very good thing. You should absolutely do that, but it's unlikely at this point that I'm going to find time to go to the dawn service and find somewhere to park. And I don't think we should forget history. Absolutely not. People seem to think that not only is history being forgotten, it's been deliberately wiped, and at the moment it is by certain factions of the government who are saying that we do need to forget about this thing, and it never happened like that. It actually happened like this, even though we can all remember it happened like that. But we should always remember that last time we went to war, just would you? Anyway, don't get my hopes up. Anyway, so that's that, and that's where we're at. You should probably go to the dawn service. It's good for you. Won't hurt you at all. And you should march if you've got medals from a relative that did serve in combat for Australia. Absolutely should do that. If you were one of those people who did that, you should go too, and not be so lazy. Yeah. Anyway, I can't really enforce that because I'm not going. There you go. Mars isn't looking all that good, James. Mars is, it's awesome, I guess, but the trouble is you've got to pay Mars and pay Elon to get you there, and there's a pretty good chance that by the time you had to come home, you'd be shot and you wouldn't be getting home, so you'd be stuck there. At this point, I don't think I'd take my chances. Anyway, we did do some lathe jobs, and the lathe's pretty dirty at the moment. It's a lot of nice quality brass. There's not enough to cast anything out of, but we've got some brass everywhere. There'll be a bit more before the end of the week. So it's jobs that have been done, things that are happening. So that's how that is. I've got to find a bit of shaft for that too at some point before this weekend or next weekend. That's another job. We've got a little generator. It's not a bad little, I think it's Australian made generator. 32 volt. It's not looking in very clean state. It's actually done some work. I'll give it a clean up. We've got a little generator, 32 volt generator, which was probably on a petrol motor at some point. I think it's a Southern Cross. I might be wrong. I think it's a Southern Cross. It's Australian built thing. The trouble is with the generator is it needs quite a lot of RPM to keep it going. And while we've got plenty of horsepower, we haven't got a whole lot of RPM. We've got a portable engine that we run it off, which has got to go at a fair belt to make it run, even from a big flywheel to a little pulley. Still got to sort of have a bit of a go. Like it's, you've got to have the throttle pretty well open to run the lights. And we've got strings of 32 volt globes and things, and it's really nice to set up an event and have globes running off a steam engine. It's kind of cool. So what the thing needs is a jack shaft, and we've got a couple of little self-aligning pulley blocks, or plumber blocks, which had a inch and a quarter shaft or something, an inch shaft maybe, which was all very well, and they were a bit clagged. But you can just buy inners for them. So took them in, got a couple of inners for that, and 7/8, which is the same size as the centre shaft on the flat belt pulley we've got. So all we need is a bit of shaft to go between, and we need a pulley on one end. So got all that set up as a jack shaft for the generator, and then basically only got to run half speed to the jack shaft, and then we can gear it up and run full speed generator without revving the ring out of the portable engine. So that's a project. We're working on that. But it might be that I need to have a bit of a look around Monday and Tuesday and get the rest of the bits for that. It shouldn't be a big deal. Need to have a bit of an inventory and see how many bits of steel and stuff we've got for pins and things before we do that. So there you go. That's another project that's happening. What else is happening in the shed? There's a Land Rover project. Oh yeah, we weren't talking about that. I forgot about that. There's a there's a portable engine sitting in bits that we haven't done much about. We've got a finished shed, which is very nice, but very happy to sort that out for fridge, even if we move on for somewhere else. It's very good to have that done, and very happy to have been part of that, to be honest. It's a good thing. There's apparently a new turbo generator. I don't know why. It needs more horsepower. And probably we're going to need, that's probably why we need the roller back in steam, is because of the horsepower or boiler pressure. The Roby engine's sort of in bits. The boiler's got the top off it, the smoke box and chimneys, cows all been rebuilt because it's rusted out. That's a work in progress too. I'd like to get that back up and running because it's a very useful steam cleaning engine, if nothing else. Needs a new gasket, stuff like that. So mud hole door gaskets and things like that need sorting out too. We're on to that, but I'm not sure how much progress has been made because we've all been busy repairing Land Rovers and other things. What else? We've kind of had a bit of a clean up last time I was down there and moved all the stacks of corrugated iron left over from the shed into one pile and stacked it all up nice and tidy and cleaned up and dragged all the pallets that it was all sitting on down to the fire heap and kind of made some progress there and stacked up some old boiler bits and stacked up a bit more scrap metal that's going to the scrappy. So that's all happening. Dan's got the Meta stove all set up and working properly. I reckon he could pull it out and run a bit of refractory cement and stuff around it so it seals some of the holes so it can blow smoke and so it runs a bit more efficiently. But that hasn't happened as yet. But apart from that, that's looking really good. And chimney and everything is really comfortable and nice. Good shit. What else? Oh, there's other projects too that we haven't really achieved anything on. So that's how we go with that. Anyway, seems like there's a lot of things we don't talk about. Anyway, so it's all happening at the shed and it's all happening here. I've been really, I guess, very grateful of a week to recharge. I feel like I've really procrastinated stuff this last few days. Sat home and did nothing over Easter, more or less. Printed some bits, had a bit of a play with that, spent a day on that, spent a day on them, so forth and so on. But yeah, that's how it is. Anyway, we'll probably drag this on long enough. These live streams seem to be getting a bit longer. No one watches them back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But watch what you like because I'm not monetized at the moment. If I said that before, yeah. Anyway, I think I'm out. I think that's about it. I think we've covered everything. Pretty well got stuff sorted. There's a whole lot of stuff I got out of my system. There's some thinking to do and some projects. Don't know what to do about stuff, but really need to get it all fixed. Anyway, have a drink on me. Won't hurt you. I'm not going to have one. And I'm probably going to not be long out of bed and fill some of these forms and things out and get ready to email them back at some point. And yeah, that's how we're at. That's what's happening. Take care, guys, and more soon.